very pleasant day to you all. I am S.Ranjani Priya, Assistant Professor of the Department of English, Bishop Eber College, Trichy. Today, we are going to deal with one of the most interesting genres of English literature, which is poetry. Especially today, we're going to deal with this poem called "A Wounded Deer Leaps Highest" by the most famous American writer, Emily Dickinson. So Emily Dickinson has a special name in American literature alongside Robert Frost and other writers. Though she was a prolific writer and wrote more than 1,800 poems, only 10 were published during her lifetime. The remaining were published posthumously, that is, after her death. And they were also found by her sister and then published in a collection of poems titled Poems. She mainly wrote on themes of life, death, aesthetics, nature, and all such deep emotions of the human mind, which are also complex. The uniqueness of her poems is that it does not have any titles. The beginning line of each of her poems has become the title of her works. And the lines are very short, and she uses unconventional ways of using the capitalization and punctuation marks. So let's get into the poem. This poem talks about perseverance, courage, of not letting go even at the direst moment of life. A wounded deer leaps highest, I've heard the hunter tell. It's but the ecstasy of death, and then the break is still. This poem, this first stanza of the 3-stanza poem, brings us to the imagery of a deer that has been shot by the hunter. After it has been shot, the deer does not lose its hope. Rather, it leaps even more higher, runs even more faster to save its life. The poet here says, might be, the deer is trying its best to enjoy its life even at the last moment, or finding each and every opportunity to keep its life safe. The deer which is hurt finally takes the highest leap, and then it's done. But still, it does not give up. Leaving the imagery of the deer, the poet then comes to a smitten rock that gushes and a trampled steel that springs. The smitten rock that gushes refers to the rock which Moses struck during the exodus from Egypt when the Israelites were thirsty at Mount Horeb. It was a very dangerous journey, and the people were all suffering of hunger and thirst, and even started cursing God. But at that moment, Moses struck the rock, and there gushed the water from the rock. Water here symbolizes life. And the striking gives us an important message that only at the hardest times do we try to perform our best. Unless a sculptor uses his chisel to sculpt the extra pieces, of rock from the extra pieces of stone from the rock, do we get a beautiful sculpture. In a similar way, only when bad things happen, when terrible things happen, do we muster the utmost courage to do the most magnificent things that we wouldn't have dreamt of if we were very comfortable in whatever we were doing. And similarly, this is the steel which they are talking about in this poem. It is nothing but a trap. A trap comes and it can be compared to people who talk ill of us. Only when people talk ill of us do we want to prove ourselves to them, not by putting them down, but by proving ourselves better. And here the next imagery which the poet gives us here is of a person who is sick with some kind of terrible illness. When we are sick, actually our body becomes very pale, or it might get reddened or something like that. So we might, like people who look at us, they would think that we are so happy, so we are flushed, we are pink, we are in the greatest joy. But actually, the smiles are to hide the sorrow which is beneath, which she clearly talks of in the next stanza. Mirth is the mail of anguish. Here mail means the chain mail, that is an armor which the military personnel used to wear during the middle 16th, 17th century when they used to go to war. It's a kind of protective armor made of rings of steel. So what she says, mirth, which is happiness, which is merriment, is the kind of armor that people in sorrow put up when they are at the most depressed state. Because nobody wants to be vulnerable. This poem talks about the deceptiveness of appearances. All that glitters is not gold. In a similar fashion, it is always said, do not judge a book by its cover. Similarly, the poet tries to convey here that appearances can be very, very deceptive. A person who might appear to be joyful, enjoying each and every moment of life, might be undergoing some kind of pain that cannot be said out because they are scared of judgment. They are scared that their own weaknesses might be turned against them. This poem is also a reflection, a kind of encouragement the poet gives to herself. And through this we get to know that the poet's loneliness, her kind of isolation, her staying away from the crowd, the kind of sufferings that she underwent was the reason that she was able to write such wonderful poems. And that's what she gives as a means of encouragement to each and every person. To not let go even when the moment seems terrible. She asks us not to give up, but try till the very end. To do our best even in the moments when we are unable, because only when we are put in trials, when some kind of task, we are put into some task, it is only then would we want to compete, would we want to perform. For example, only because we have examinations do children prepare for the exams, And there is a kind of competition that, and the competition should be healthy, of course. So only when there is a competition do we get a winner. And in the preparation of the competition, you might face many trials, you might have terrible stress and strain. But only those stresses and strains would mold us into the person that we would become. So, pain is eternal, pain is necessary, but that pain should not push us down, rather it should be a force that uplifts us and makes us do the best and brings the best out of us. I hope you've understood this, and thank you.